Most men navigate life in a state of confusion, pursuing love, validation, and happiness from women, often leading to heartbreak, exploitation, or entrapment. However, 2 centuries ago, the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer unveiled a stark reality about female nature, truths so uncompromising that many men are unwilling to confront them. By the end of this, you will clearly understand where you have been misled and how to ultimately regain control. Therefore, pay close attention because what you are about to hear is not merely controversial. It is the crucial insight that most men will never grasp. Schopenhauer did not subscribe to romanticized notions. He perceived love for its true nature, not a spiritual connection, not destiny, but a biological mechanism, a deceptive illusion orchestrated by nature for the singular purpose of reproduction. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When you experience that intense attraction, that consuming desire, that unwavering belief that she is the one, your brain isn't connecting with her soul, it's calculating. Subconsciously, it's assessing fertility, genetic compatibility, and survival advantages. Similarly, a woman's attraction operates through the same biological imperative, albeit with different priorities. Schopenhauer wrote, "Love is the ultimate goal of almost all human effort. It is more important than anything else in life." However, his meaning was not romantic. He viewed it as a trap, a fleeting chemical euphoria that dissipates once it has served its reproductive purpose. Consider this. How many men have self-destructed for a woman who later walked away without a second thought? How many marriages disintegrate once the initial passion fades? This is not coincidental. It is nature's design. Women do not select men based on fairness, loyalty, or even logic. They adhere to an ancient selection program, hardwired to seek status, security, and superior genetics. A man's devotion holds no value if he cannot provide these. Schopenhauer observed this with clarity. Women are rarely guided by reason. They are governed by instinct and emotion. This is not misogyny. It is an observation of natural tendencies. Examine dating apps, where a significant majority of women vie for the attention of a small percentage of men. Consider divorce courts, where commitment can be rewarded with financial ruin. Reflect on history, where kings met their demise for mistresses who ultimately betrayed them. The pattern remains consistent because the underlying biology remains unchanged. Most men operate under the assumption that love is reciprocal, believing that if they sacrifice enough, care deeply enough, and prove their worth, they will be rewarded with genuine affection. However, Schopenhauer cautioned, to be loved, one must not be just, but clever. Women are not primarily drawn to nice guys. They are drawn to strength, not merely physical strength, but social, financial, and psychological strength. This is why the archetypal good guy often finishes last. Not because he is inherently unworthy, but because he misunderstands the fundamental nature of the dynamic. He believes love is earned through selfless service, while women, by instinct, are drawn to men who don't need to serve. Ever noticed how women seem to lose interest once they've secured a man? How the dynamic of the chase reverses? Schopenhauer termed this the tragedy of possession. The excitement lies not in having, but in conquering. Once the conquest is complete, the biological imperative shifts. This is why men who become overly clingy, who make a woman the center of their universe, inevitably find themselves watching her depart. But here's the crucial point. This isn't solely attributable to women's actions. It's a consequence of nature's design. The man who grasps this stops assigning blame and begins to strategize. Schopenhauer's insight isn't about animosity towards women. It's about perceiving them clearly, recognizing that love in this context isn't a romantic ideal but a form of negotiation. And in any negotiation, a party operating from a position of weakness is destined to lose. However, this is just the initial layer of understanding. The subsequent truth is even more stark, explaining why contemporary men are often disadvantaged in various aspects of life and how to potentially reverse this trend. Stay tuned, because what follows is where many men realize they've been operating under false pretenses their entire lives. Schopenhauer recognized what many men today still refuse to acknowledge. The rules governing attraction are not fair, they are not logical, and they certainly do not inherently favor men. While modern society espouses equality, biological imperatives operate under a different set of laws. The man who disregards this reality is already at a disadvantage. Here's the blunt truth. Women possess the ultimate leverage in relationships, not out of malice, but because nature has predisposed them to be the selectors. From the onset of puberty, a woman's value in the sexual marketplace reaches its peak, whereas a man's value must be cultivated through effort, status acquisition, and demonstrating his capacity for survival and provision. Schopenhauer stated plainly that women are inherently suited to nurturing and educating young children due to their own childlike, frivolous, and short-sighted nature. His intention wasn't to insult, but to highlight an evolutionary reality. A woman's youth and beauty serve as her primary currency, and she instinctively understands how to leverage it. Observe the current landscape. The average man today is caught in a paradox. He is encouraged to be emotionally vulnerable, while women still gravitate towards dominance. He is shamed for desiring traditional masculinity, while strong alpha-type men continue to dominate dating platforms. He toils exhaustively to provide within a system that can reward him with unfavorable divorce settlements and paternity disputes. Schopenhauer cautioned against this centuries ago, noting women are directly suited to childcare due to their own childish, frivolous, and short-sighted nature, in essence, remaining big children throughout their lives. But here's where the situation becomes perilous for men. Modern women haven't merely embraced their inherent power, they've weaponized it. Social media has transformed attention into a valuable commodity, and the average man often finds himself as the unpaid laborer in this economy. He simps, he orbits, he vies for fleeting scraps of validation from women who have no intention of genuine commitment. Why? Because he has been sold a falsehood. That devotion alone is sufficient. Schopenhauer identified this trap long before the advent of dating apps and online admiration. Women are systematically inclined to be incapable of genuine, selfless love, in the way men often understand it. This sounds harsh until you grasp his meaning. Female love, in this context, is often conditional, tied to utility. A man is not cherished for his intrinsic worth, but for what he provides. The moment his provision ceases or diminishes, the love tends to fade. This isn't cynicism. It's a stark observation of survival instincts. Women are biologically driven to seek the most advantageous mate. If a man's status or ability to provide stagnates, she will likely become resentful. If he falls behind perceived alternatives, she will, by instinct, seek to replace him. In modern society, in many ways, encourages and validates this behavior. Schopenhauer categorized men into two distinct groups, those who serve and those who are served. The beta male exhausts himself trying to prove his worth. The alpha commands worth effortlessly. One begs for loyalty, the other inspires obsession. You see this dynamic everywhere. The office worker who sacrifices his health for a promotion, hoping it will make his wife respect him again. The gym enthusiast who transforms his physique only to realize women now desire him solely for sex, not commitment. The simp who spends his earnings on a woman who will discard him the moment a man of higher status appears. These men are not victims. They are volunteers, unknowingly playing a losing game. But Schopenhauer didn't merely diagnose the problem. He also revealed the solution. The fundamental principle for survival is to perceive the world as it truly is, not as you wish it to be. The man who prospers today is not the one clinging to outdated romantic ideals. It's the one who masters the underlying dynamics. And the ultimate truth is that the game is rigged, but only if you adhere to the wrong set of rules. This is the point where many men falter, because the subsequent truth is the most difficult to accept. It's not primarily about women, it's about you. And the instant you confront this, everything begins to shift. Schopenhauer uncovered a disturbing reality, now corroborated by modern psychology. Women do not compete in the same manner as men. They do not challenge you directly. They do not overtly display their power. Their most potent weapon is invisible, instinctive, and devastatingly effective emotional influence. While men engage in conflict with physical force or logic, women wage war through the manipulation of perception. They don't simply conquer, they subtly reshape reality itself. Consider this: when a man desires something, he demands it. When a woman desires something, she subtly guides you to believe it was your own idea. Schopenhauer observed this with clarity, noting that women are adapted to a sedentary existence due to their lack of physical strength and to the care of children due to their natural inclination. Consequently, they tend to live more in the present moment than men. However, this present moment focus grants them a dangerous advantage. They interpret micro-expressions, tonal shifts, and social dynamics with an almost supernatural accuracy. A man may believe he is having a simple conversation, while a woman is simultaneously conducting an interrogation. Modern men often believe they are in control of their relationships. They are mistaken. From the initial date to the final divorce decree, women subtly guide the interaction through a series of unconscious tests. Most men fail these tests without even recognizing they are being evaluated. The compliance test: how readily you alter your plans for her. The frame test: whether you maintain your boundaries or yield to her emotions. The investment test: whether you pursue her more than she pursues you. Schopenhauer warned that women are instinctively cunning and possess an innate talent for deception. This is not inherently malicious. It is a product of evolutionary programming. In a world where brute physical strength wasn't always the key to survival, emotional intelligence became the ultimate currency. The woman who couldn't effectively navigate male psychology was less likely to pass on her genes. This is where modern men blindly stumble into the trap. They mistake a woman's attention for genuine, unconditional interest. But Schopenhauer revealed the stark reality: women are most attracted to men who do not need them. The moment you elevate a woman to the central purpose of your existence is the very moment she begins to lose respect for you. This explains why nice guys finish last, why marriages crumble after men sacrifice their ambitions, why women pursue emotionally unavailable men. It's not that women want to be treated poorly, they're biologically wired to seek men of higher value, and nothing destroys perceived value faster than neediness. Every interaction with a woman contains an unspoken power struggle. Most men lose before they realize the battle began. She cries to avoid accountability, she withholds affection. To train compliance, she flirts with others to test your confidence. Schopenhauer called this the tyranny of the weak. Women leverage their perceived vulnerability to control stronger adversaries. A man who falls for it becomes a slave. A man who recognizes it, he becomes unstoppable. But there's hope. Schopenhauer's most liberating truth is this: the first step to freedom is seeing the chains. Once you understand female nature isn't personal, it's biological. You stop taking it personally, you stop begging for loyalty and start inspiring it. The final lesson: the most dangerous lies aren't the ones women tell men, they're the ones men tell themselves. Schopenhauer's most devastating revelation wasn't about women, it was about the cold, unflinching reality of human nature itself. After exposing the brutal truths of attraction and power dynamics, he offered something far more valuable, the path to liberation. This isn't about defeating women, it's about transcending the game. Entirely modern men make one fatal error. They believe happiness comes from female validation. Schopenhauer saw through this illusion. The happiness which we receive from ourselves is greater than that which we obtain from our surroundings. The men who thrive aren't those who conquer women, but those who conquer themselves. They develop a purpose so consuming, so intrinsically rewarding that female attention becomes a pleasant bonus rather than a life or death necessity. History's most remarkable men, the artists, the inventors, the warriors, weren't distracted by the chase. They were too busy building empires. Here are the three pillars of unshakable masculinity. 1. Economic sovereignty. Schopenhauer warned that money is human happiness in the abstract, not for what it buys, but for the freedom it secures. The man who controls his finances controls his fate. 2. Philosophical depth. Most men live on autopilot. The exceptional man cultivates a mind sharp enough to cut through societal lies. He reads, debates, and thinks for himself. 3. Physical mastery. The body isn't just a tool for attraction, it's the vessel of your will. Weakness here breeds weakness everywhere. Here's where Schopenhauer's wisdom becomes revolutionary. The safest way of not being very miserable is not to expect to be very happy. This isn't pessimism, it's emotional armor. The modern man who stops begging for love, approval, or fairness suddenly finds these things come to him. Why? Because he's removed himself from the desperate masses. He's become the prize. The battle between men and women isn't personal, it's biological theater playing out across millennia. The man who wakes up to this stops blaming and starts evolving. He doesn't resent female nature. He adapts to it. He builds a life so compelling that women must either meet his standards or watch from the sidelines. Schopenhauer's ultimate lesson: we forfeit 3/4s of ourselves in order to be like other people. The choice is yours. Continue chasing illusions or step into your true power. The red pill isn't about hating women, it's about loving truth enough to rebuild yourself in its image. This is where your real life begins.